Unmute. Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
So good to see you. Well, we're not seeing you again, but we know that you're there. So thank you so much for joining us. Welcome once again to On Cue at Center Stage. Our fourth one already. Can you believe it? Wow.
Yeah, number 4.
Number 4. So my name is Daniela Crankshaw.
And I'm Grant Crankshaw.
My partner in crime. In fact, my partner in everything. And we are going to be your hosts tonight. We have actually a special evening because we've got a very small invited audience here. Seeing as, yay, say clap, 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 yay, say hello, woo! Okay, because theatres officially are allowed to be open today, but Grant will tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. And we have some really great guests. So Grant, why don't you take it away? And
right. So the big news is that theatres were open today. And we'd like to thank our government for the whole 1 week's notice that we got. Our shows normally take a little longer to prepare than that. We're also waiting with bated breath for the next political drama episode of Shut Her Down. We know it's not all Bibi's fault, but we have to blame someone while we try to pretend there's a future. We plan to ramp up our activities at Centre Stage with more humour and music. We understand the public has enough drama in their daily lives, and we hope to alleviate some of the stress with the distraction and maybe even some joy. We are expecting our loyal audiences to attend and risk everything. We've invested heavily in soap, thermometers, and hand sanitizers to give you the impression that everything is okay. But we understand that not everybody is as mashugana as we are, so if you care to watch on Zoom at home, that's also okay. Our business consultant thought it would be a brilliant idea to open a theatre during a pandemic. She said, stand out, be original. To our enormous surprise, things have been rather quiet. And we therefore ask for your support while we get things rolling again. So this is a pay-as-you-can event. We appreciate any contributions you can manage. Should you be in the same situation as everybody else on the planet, just relax, sit back and enjoy. We won't hold it against you. We're all in this together. Thank you.
All right. Can you guys hear us? Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. Otherwise, Grant's going to do it all over again. But Lenny, hi, Lenny. Okay. Yay. He's there. And
yes,
he's
we
fine. Can. Okay. Can everyone hear it? Yay, Ilana. Thank you so much. Excellent. Vicky gives us a thumbs up too. That's excellent. Good. So you can hear us. Gershom, thank you. Okay, so that's so good to see you all. So
there was one other event we wanted to tell you about.
Yeah, I want to tell you about that if I may.
Okay.
We are obviously, as you know, let me just share this with you guys. As Grant said, it's going to take a while before we can actually, do real sort of, not real things, but our own productions. We'll be doing a lot of comedy and music, but we are very honored to be taking part in STAY, which is Save the Arts, yay. Yay! That is being produced by Mike Kroll, who we interviewed in our very first interview, and he's got some amazing artists coming on the 1st of October at the Panthera in Tel Aviv, 9 o'clock, where he's raising awareness and some money for artists. So kudos to him. I will be there, and this gorgeous man beside me will be there too. Well, so if you can make it and want to come to Tel Aviv and enjoy some comedy and some music, some singing, please join us. You'll be very, very welcome.
All right. In the meantime, we'd like to remind you to keep up to date with everything on our website and all our upcoming events, which is very excitingly the youth theatre that we've started doing recently.
And of course, all the events that we're going to do, the comedy and the music is going to be there as well. So sign up for the newsletter, follow us on Facebook, just be in the know.
Yes.
So without further ado, let us give a very warm welcome to our guests tonight, who are Benji Lovitt. Woo! And Guy Seideman. Yay! So we're going to start with a few little questions that I'm going to give to Guy, if you're ready for me. And guys, feel free to sort of like come in whenever you want to and, you know, say what you have to say. Yeah. All right, here we go. We've started, people. So Guy is an actor and a voice actor who we met when we held auditions for All My Sons. Now, of course, we were impressed with his acting chops because, we cast him for a reason, but we really couldn't anticipate what a wonderful guy this person really is. He's generous, supportive, giving, encouraging, and loving, and we are. Oh,
yeah, you're blushing already.
Are you blushing already? That's good. That's good. So it is really our pleasure to have you here. So welcome, Guy. Thank you so much for. Now tell us, how did you know when you wanted to be an actor?
It's a combination of two things. One is my grandfather, may he rest in peace, and the other is the amazing Jim Carrey. Watching him for the first time in The Mask.
So explain your grandfather, though.
Oh yeah. I used to goof around and put on shows for my family as a 6, 7-year-old, and my grandfather would look at me and say, "Ata artist, you're an artiste."
Okay.
And I wasn't quite sure what he meant, so I asked my dad, and he told me, "Well, an artiste is someone who puts on shows and gets paid." And I was like, "Can I get paid for that?" Man, great, I can do that.
Excellent. I love that.
And the other one is like seeing for the first time in my life Jim Carrey.
Oh,
Yes.
In the beginning, I was terrified because I had like a general fear of the movies, but I forced myself into watching it, and when I did, I saw someone who was just fearless and hysterically funny, and he knew how to sing and he knew how to dance, and I was looking at him in awe and thinking, I want to be that guy. And as years passed, I understood that everything he does, like as cartoonish as can be, it's still rooted in something very emotional deep down inside, and I wanted to learn that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So okay, so that explains to me how you got into voice acting, and we'll get into that in a second. But what acting school did you go? Did you go to acting school?
I went to the Goodman Acting School in Be'er Sheva.
Mm-hmm.
And
you learned, and that's how many years is that to study?
3 years. That's 3 years acting school.
So Jim Carrey was your big inspiration for doing voice acting, and that's a big part of your life.
Yes.
Right?
I want to do this until the day I die. Okay. As simple as that.
What do you enjoy about it? That's
like the absolute freedom you get when you go into a recording booth and you just go wild. You go ape shit. And then like the director can, okay, tone it down a bit. And obviously I can't. So, but it's loads of fun. It's just like, it's watching movies. It's watching cartoons all over again. Yeah. I get to go back and be a 10-year-old again. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Can you bring to a character in I mean, the director tells you?
Yeah,
the animation itself give you the way to go?
Actually, I am fortunate enough to most of the stuff I voice act, and I was the translator. I translated it from English to Hebrew, and I got to know the characters a little more. And when I approach something that I didn't translate, I sit down with the director. He tells me about the character. He tells me about what he wants, how he sounds like. And I just try to bring myself into it, not to make like a perfect impression, but more to bring my own take.
But when you're translating, aren't you kind of influenced by what the original person or the original actor, voice actor did with the character?
Oh yeah, of course. I'm affected by it, and I also sort of transforming it a bit.
Okay.
Make it more me.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah. And the first video you showed, it's from Ladybug and Cat Noir, and this is something I am very proud of because I'm doing this for 20 years now, voice acting. And I remember always wanting to do something that I can say, this is mine. Like back then when I was a kid, Tal Mosseri had Spider-Man and Ido Mosseri had SpongeBob, and I said I wanted something like that. So I was fortunate enough to do that character for 5 years now.
Wow.
I think this is like the thing I'm most famous for. And the amount of
You're
love
famous? Hang on, wait a minute. You're famous?
Didn't you know? You invited me. And this is something I'm doing for 5 years now, and I'm
Amazing.
loving every minute of it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, what is your first acting gig on stage?
With you guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yes.
That's so cool.
I'm
so
blown
proud of
away.
that. Yeah.
You didn't know that?
You know what? I honestly did not, and people did not see me do this, but that's amazing, because you were in auditions, you really stood out, and you were amazing, and I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. So
we just need to fill in a little bit more about we do All My Sons to schools every year. So we go around to a bunch of schools and we perform it to the students in their classroom or in their theater or their basketball court or whichever theater performance space they have. And Guy is on our cast.
And he plays
Very
George.
proudly.
So
Yeah.
this is a great moment to ask you about George and why. I mean, he's a, they're all great characters, but George is the kind of spark in the whole play, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. He is the sort of character that is in search for the truth. In some plays, you have that character, and in his quest for the truth, he needs to decide how many lives he's going to destroy and like what parts of him is he going to lose along the way, because you know the story, of course, of All My Sons. And
somewhat.
Yeah,
just
somewhat.
a little bit.
And he's going back to his hometown, to the people he grew up with, and he needs to do something that's gonna, in the best case scenario, ruin their day, but like it could ultimately destroy their lives.
Yeah.
It's just so he could expose the truth.
And ultimately he does.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm still blown away by the fact that was like your first stage, because we went to see you in a play called No Lead.
Yeah, that was my second one.
That was also a great play, and I'll tell you that what impressed me a lot, besides the fact that it was based on a true story.
Yeah.
I loved the way that they made the theater work. They used these rolling screens and just adjusted it according to the scene, and it was so well done.
Yeah, I was blown away when I saw it the first time. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be something. This is going to be something special.
Absolutely. And I've got some pictures here of you doing that. If we can go again to the next one. Why isn't it? There we go.
Yeah.
So you play a policeman, which is a very sort of like loaded character to play nowadays.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And he's a traffic cop. And the true story is that the guy who wrote it and directed it, he rode on his motorcycle with his girlfriend and in the middle of the night, and a police officer stopped them, and he was starting to write him a ticket for not stopping at a stop sign, and things got heated up and they started arguing, and it ended up with the cop beating up the guy and still giving him the ticket. And he took that in his rage. The guy took that true story and turned it into this revenge fantasy against the cop who gave him the ticket and beat him up, and about how slowly he's gonna ruin his life.
Wow.
For him. Yeah.
So now you're it's good, you're in good place. What can I say? No wonder. I just want to ask you about this play that is going to be at the Akko Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
And we hope,
Corona willing, it's going to be. It's a strange thing to say, right? Corona willing.
No, well, it's a strange reality that we're all living in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, this play got accepted to the Akko Fringe Festival. It's called Pinta.
Yes.
Which I'm assuming is one of the ships of Columbus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it's one of three ships: the Ana Maria, the Nina, and
the Pinta. Yes.
The Pinta.
I learned something at school.
Yeah. I learned it like during rehearsals, so it's all good. Yeah.
Okay. So at least I can say, well, I knew that. Wow. But this is also an interesting play because it is one that is, from what I understand, although correct me, it's more an exploration with a lot of theatricality, lighting. and things like that. Am I correct?
It is a very different thing. It's different than the other stuff I was doing because this belongs to a very special category I didn't know existing called docu fiction. It's when you take like existing interviews and lectures and footages and you add to them the drama and the drive for each character and you adapt it to stage. And Pinta tells the story of Elon Musk. We all know Elon Musk from
Sure, the one who sent the washing machine up to the moon.
He sent a washing machine. I heard he sent a car. I heard.
I just was always impressed that this thing was so small that to me it was like a washing machine. You know, so because I thought, you know, he's sending a rocket to the moon, for heaven's sakes. I thought, a rocket to the moon, and it turns out to be no bigger than a washing machine. So I'm always saying, well, he sent the washing machine.
Well, it's step by step. It's all a part of his plan to make humanity multiplanetary.
Okay.
And in the play, he feels that because this is going to be the greatest journey of his lifetime and all of our lifetimes, he feels that he needs advice and guidance from someone who once upon a time in 1492 made the greatest journey of his lifetime, and that is Christopher Columbus, played by me.
Oh.
And Musk and his teammates are finding a way to sort of resurrect Christopher Columbus and with him review his diaries from when he went to what he originally thought was India in order that Musk will get answers to questions like, how do you take the first step in such a seemingly impossible journey? And how do you get the courage to do what needs to be done?
It's always the first step, isn't it?
Yes, it's the first step.
It's always the first step.
Definitely.
Well, when is that going to be on?
Well, again, Corona willing. From the 1st of October to the 6th of October, we're going to perform each day, 2 days, 2 times a day. And it's going to blow you away, I think. It's one of the most special things I've ever done.
Are they also transmitting these performances on Zoom?
Not that I know of yet, but
okay.
you know, there's been a lot of confusion and a lot of stuff that were difficult for us to know. Okay, where are we gonna perform this? And in the end, we're gonna perform it under the stars.
Oh,
outside.
that's cool.
It's a very globe theater kind of location.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna be very cool.
Sounds amazing.
Excellent, can't wait.
All right. Well, I can just wish you to go from strength to strength, and you're doing some amazing stuff.
Thank you.
So we're going to get back to you, but I think now we need to go on to our next guest. And Grant, won't you?
Mr. Benji Lovitt is in the house.
Yay, Benji.
Hello there.
Benji's been making people laugh for quite a while now, we believe.
At least 10 minutes now.
And you'll be using your Aliyah experience, although all of us can so much identify with everything you're talking about. The challenges, the melting pot, the misunderstandings, the clashes of cultures. You know. Welcome to the show. I'm going to jump straight in.
Before we start, why did anyone tell me I was so fat in this shirt? Look at this. I'm looking at... this shirt doesn't fit.
You look fine.
Why did you tell me
gorgeous.
this? It's horrible.
Come on.
Guys, you tell me. What do you think? Does Benji look good? Give me a
Look at
thumbs
this.
up or a thumbs down.
By the way, I love
guys.
hearing guys say everything. The best part of this so far is when you share the screen that I can pick my nose. Share screen more often. I love that part.
Benji, tell us where you come from. Where do you
Originally
originate?
Dallas, Texas.
South Texas.
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas.
Many South Africans there.
Yes.
Oh, yes, we've heard.
Lots.
Yes. How long ago did you come to Israel?
14 years last month.
Wow.
And as you can tell, I'm completely Israeli.
Yeah, no.
I can hear it in your
So I will
accent.
say, so new, are you married? Do you have a girlfriend?
Anyway, that's our show. Thank you, everyone. This is pay whatever you want, and since you don't have masks, you'll be paying with your life.
Okay, I won't take you to there.
How did you get into comedy?
Well, I'm screaming. Whenever anyone asks me, oh, by the way, do you like the nice mic here? No, that's not tape. It's just these are the after. These are.
Can't really see the tape.
What do you call it? The post edits, the after edit, whatever.
We'll edit it out.
Whenever someone asks me that, I always ask them, like, what do you want to know? Do you want to know like how I first got started or how I made this a career in Israel? Usually either one.
You got started.
I feel like now it's much more of a thing. Like there's Comedy Central, there's podcasts, there's Netflix. Like it's much more of a known thing. I didn't, there wasn't a lot of televised comedy when I was a kid, and when I was in college, I started watching like Comedy Central, which was very in its infancy then, I guess. And he doesn't deserve it, but I'm going to plug a friend of mine now. There's a comedian who some of you know, Avi Lieberman. He's here. I'm performing with him this week, but we go back like 30-something years in Texas, same youth group, same summer camp. And he was the first person I know that did it. So once he started performing, I was like, oh, this is a thing that I could, not that I didn't even think that I could do it, but it just became an option. And when I turned 21, I was old enough to go to comedy clubs, and I started going to the clubs in Austin, Texas, where I went to school. And I always say, that the comedians were like, they were just gods to me on the stage. Maybe like you and Jim Carrey. Like there's the famous clip of like, the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan show. Maybe the first time on stage, all the girls like, ah. I always feel like I worship these guys, and I started writing down funny thoughts that maybe someday would be jokes. And a few months later, long story short, I said, I got to do this. And I went to an open mic and
you've never looked back.
That's right.
The rest is history.
Exactly.
All those kind
You
of
too can be a balding man with no income. All you people watching at home. Screen share. No, I'm joking.
So much baldness in this side of the studio.
I had hair when I moved here, but all the stress.
I understand that you did some sort of cultural training to Israeli diplomats.
Oh,
yeah.
Sounds hysterical.
Material. What was the most surprising aspect of this training? I think is like, I mean, I can understand how and why, but surely there must have been some things that even you went, really?
The most surprising part is that the check cleared afterwards. I got paid. No, it was again, like when people ask, when Israelis ask what I do, I'll say comedian. But if people from like the Anglo or Jewish world ask, I use humor to create conversations about, I come from like the informal Jewish education background.
Yeah.
I was like, from like the Hadracha, like Jewish leadership background. So, it's stand up, but less so in clubs and theaters, and more, frequently for like tourists or Jewish organizations abroad. And under the same umbrella, I've designed, it really is true, like everything I do, I feel like has roots in like the leadership from youth movements.
Yeah.
So a lot of workshops and presentations on cultural differences and this and that. So I built this interactive workshop on, Americans are fake and Israelis are rude and how do we overcome it and work together. And it's instead of just being a lecture with, PowerPoint slides, it's sort of
more
summer camp ula, and
Right.
I had the chance to do something at the foreign ministry, and it was great.
Wow.
That's great. I'm going to show a clip very quickly of something about shlichim, and you can sort of let us know where this came in, and we'll, oh gosh. Here we go. So let's
You guys start,
start at the beginning.
Yeah.
I love performing for Shlichim. I love it. You guys are the best. I grew up my whole life with Shlichim in America, my Tanuat Noah, but only when I moved here, I learned the other meaning of the word Shaliach. It's my first week in Israel years ago, and my router broke. So I called Bezek. He says, don't worry, we're sending a Shaliach. I'm like, oh my God, those guys do everything. I already live here. Your work is done. Next week, another one comes with a pizza. I'm like, these guys are great. I can only do that joke like once a year. Thank you, Shlichim. Thank you.
So for those of you in the live audience that couldn't see, I was on the Johnny Carson show. Well, I just dated myself, Johnny Carson. That's fucking, I'm even wearing a Letterman shirt. I don't know why I said Johnny Carson.
How old are you, Johnny Carson?
55. I don't know why. I know my audience. So that was a clip. Again, going back to like who the audience is. That was for the Jewish agency Shinshinim, like young shlichim. We're about to go to the States, and they invited me to come and do comedy about cultural differences and like tell my story. So, I mean, that I love that joke because that's a joke that only like an Olev Atik could make, having lived here for a few years.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But like I don't usually do that unless there's like a shaliach in the crowd or something. So
I'm going to ask you a question now quickly because this is what's most, I think, challenging for a lot of performers or comedians is when you do your comedy you've traveled, and I'll ask you a question about that.
Yeah, I've gone all the way to Beersheba, actually. That's,
right.
No, I was joking.
Right. But when you perform overseas and you draw on your Aliyah experiences, how do you balance between what people actually know? Because it's funny to us, we've been through it, so we can relate. That's what our show, God, My Show, is about. People relate to the experiences that we've gone through. But when you go overseas and people haven't made Aliyah, how do you work your material to suit that audience?
To anyone watching who hasn't made Aliyah, don't do it. No. I guess. I guess it's like one answer I started giving is like, I laugh at jokes about marriage and children. Like, I've never done those things before. Please, God. No. So I still laugh at those. But, if someone tells something in a relatable way and shares their emotions, it's like, and, maybe I get that. I might laugh at the parenting jokes, and parents might think he doesn't really get it. There's like levels of getting it. But the longer I've done it, like, I'm not going to do the exact same material here and there. Like, here I'll do more dark things or more, Hebrew words that I wouldn't do there. But is when you're telling your story, like people.
It's your story. Yeah. Okay. So you've been performing.
You've been performing
everywhere, really, from what I understand. You've been
Australia. You've been to, I believe.
Yeah.
Wow.
New Zealand. You went to visit God's brother in New Zealand. I know that.
Yes.
Were your brothers there?
I have a brother in New Zealand. And you've been to South Africa too. That was very brave.
4 years ago. It was amazing.
You understand us?
Yes, you can understand. Now, how does that compare to performing here in Israel?
In those countries?
Yeah.
More something different to America. The Commonwealth.
It's the same everywhere. Jews are Jews. It's fun to come up with local stuff, but
Jews are Jews.
Yeah.
Jews are Jews.
Jews will Jew.
Jews will Jew. Okay.
What is one of the most funniest experiences you had on the circuit, on the comedy circuit?
One of the funniest things. What do you mean?
Just anything bizarre happening. Any sort of like real terrible bum outs.
Made you laugh harder than you should have been.
Oh my goodness, it's I feel like it's like when I do interviews for like a group abroad, like a Jewish organization. They're like, "Tell us the funniest thing that happened in an Israeli supermarket." I'm like, "What? That's the kind of thing you ask." Yeah, it's like
same everywhere.
I think my first year I'd have like all kinds of questions, like stories, but I've been here too long. This one time I went to Renana for the center stage.
No, really? Oh my goodness!
I feel like the most memorable stories are bad ones. Like they're this show they didn't have chairs for the audience. Like I had my worst show ever maybe a year and a half ago in Brooklyn, and I think it was like a big Hanukkah party. There was like 700 people in this ballroom, and there were no chairs in the audience. Like people were just up socializing, and they it was like one thing after another. Like this speaker, and then lighting the candles, and then a comedian. I think most of the people did not even know that I was performing. Like it was so loud and no one was listening. It was awful. And after about 10 minutes, I just left. I said, "Good night. I can't do this anymore." And
I got paid though. I got paid.
I split it with him. One of my comedian friends said,
"Take it. It's not worth it."
One of my comedian friends said I should have just taken the whole thing. So it was his fault for not giving me good conditions, but I either didn't know that or couldn't have done it. But
it happens.
It happens. You get sort of like.
I'm absolutely thrilled to see that you're going to be in Comedy for Kobe.
Yeah, first immigrant, first Ola.
You're the first one.
Really, the first Ola.
Usually, so if people don't know Comedy for Kobe, it's started by my friend Avi Lieberman
It's called Comedy for Kobe. I'm sorry, the people in the audience were saying, "What?"
Avi, if you're watching, I'm giving you way too much free press.
Comedy? Have you heard of Comedy for Kobe?
There's an American comedian, a Jewish guy, imagine that. He comes twice a year and brings English-speaking comedians from the States with big TV credits, and the money goes to the Kobe Mandel Foundation. And he would normally be doing shows during the summer, and because of the whole coronavirus thing, they couldn't do it. He kept waiting and waiting, and finally said, "Okay, I'm just going to do anything." He'll just do small shows and use local comics. So I did a show with him and another guy, Leoz Shem Tov, on Thursday night in near Beit Shemesh. Then tomorrow night we have something in Jerusalem.
Well done.
Very nice. Well, I think that's great that he's using local talent. I think that they need to be.
I mean, they can't bring it. No one can come.
They can't bring
Exactly.
anybody else in. Exactly,
but we do have the talent here, and I'm really glad to see that they're using local talent because yes, you can have the big names and they'll bring in the big crowds, but you guys are funny and you work hard and you deserve to have that stage.
You hear that, hiring managers and booking people? I always say, if you're not going to give me a microphone taped to my cheek, I'm not stepping on your stage. These are my standards. You see that? Can we zoom in?
You're going to keep it.
That's right.
You're going to keep it. You're going to take it home.
There we go. Zoom in on it.
By the way, did Grant take everyone's temperature when they walked in?
Yes,
you did.
everyone's being tested.
But did you have to do it rectally? That just seems excessive. Grant, why did you do that?
It's so much more fun.
I know.
We're sitting down fine.
It was something they remember.
Okay, so Benji, how have you coped with Corona?
For what?
COVID.
Yes, COVID.
I'm not familiar with that term.
Because I know that this is an example of something that came out of it because we couldn't have the theater open, so we went onto Zoom and so on. But I imagine that comedy is really hard to do on Zoom. You really need a live audience for comedy. What did you do in that time? How did you cope?
We saw some of your first Zoom shows on comedy.
If they were some of my first ones, they might have been bad.
No.
I don't remember.
It was
wasn't
weird.
bad. You were still funny, but we could see that you had no feedback from anybody whatsoever.
Yeah. And that's
the challenge.
So this thing has gone on so long. There've been like stages. Like there was the first stages where I was trying stuff on Zoom. Then I actually got a fair number of gigs, and now things are dwindling down. But a friend of mine sort of gave me when he does shows over Zoom, he has the moderator mute everybody except for like 3 people, because if everyone's muted, it's awful.
Yes.
Like there's no laughter, there's no feedback. But if no one's muted, there's noise, so I've kind of I figured out at first I was using my phone on a tripod, and I realized if I use a computer, it's, I can see more faces. I've sort of figured out all the, where to stand and what material to do. And I've actually gotten good at it, which is weird, but it's not as fun. Just even now, like improvising and talking, interacting.
Yeah.
Did you add the recorded laughter thing?
No, someone told me to do that, but you can't.
It sounds fake, and it's kind of
But even like 2 people laughing, it just gives you like the cues of
You only
you're
need
nailing it.
person actually laughing at you, and then you're okay.
Yeah, if there's
Rent a crowd.
What's the difference between 2 people laughing on Zoom and 100? Like you can only hear 1 or 2 people at a time, so it's
right. But it's that feeling.
Yeah.
So guys,
I've myself and also all the comedians, like everyone is getting so much material out of it. Like the temperature joke. That's
Ima.
the pay whatever you want. Like there's so much.
My friend from 2016 saying that she's gonna call me the day before Puppet does.
We're gonna have a conversation afterwards.
Okay.
You and I, Ron.
Oh boy, are you ready for that? All right, so we're going to come to that. We're going to come to that stage on the interview where we do the 10 questions, which are like based on the Bernard Pivot, Marcel Proust question. Have you heard of that?
What was that? Is that English?
The one from Inside Actor Studio?
Well, he does it based on, but they're not those questions.
Yeah.
they're not those questions.
Oh, okay.
So it's okay.
We shamelessly made up our own questions.
No, we didn't.
How dare you?
Like pizza.
Yes.
But Marcel Proust actually made up a whole bunch of questions and decided that you could ask some of these and understand a person's who they are and where they come from these questions.
What's your dad? 2 dads a hoot? What's your mother's maiden name?
There you go. So I'm going to ask you these questions, and you're just going to answer them very quickly and very kind of whatever the first thing that comes to your head. Okay, and I'm not asking for Megillot or anything like that. Just go for it.
An hour and a half.
Yeah, we've got people here who are, not here for a long time. So my first question is to Guy. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Doing the things you love.
I like that. Benji.
Oh God, please don't ask me that question. Same question or different one?
Answer it.
Same
Answer
question.
it.
Come on, what makes you...
It's been so long. Perfect happiness. Being in the company of others and just having a good time.
Okay. People, I think you've hit on a point there that especially that's like so important now, specifically, that I feel it personally as well, is I need people. I so need people. They're important to my well-being. So, and they make me happy, just like they make you happy.
And on that note, Guy, what's the one quality you deplore most in others?
I deplore most. Deplore meaning
not
liking. Arrogance.
Arrogance. Good.
Benji.
Aside from a South African accent, I would say no. Yeah, kind of the same thing. Like on Facebook, where there's a lack of humility, just this anger and self-righteousness.
When people are so full of themselves,
can't stand it.
Okay, so we got to be kinder to each other, people.
Screw them.
Got to be kinder. So we know this question from you, but let's give it to you anyway. Maybe there's somebody else. If which person do you most admire? I mean, we know about Jim Carrey, so think of maybe not in your career, but maybe personally, or I don't know. Go for it. Whatever you want.
My grandmother, who is no longer with us. She, if I can elaborate on that just a little bit, she lost her only son in Shlomo Galil war, and she's been coping with it ever since. Like, for all the years I knew her, she's been coping with it through poetry. She wrote loads of poems and about him, and she wasn't really mourning his passing as much as she was celebrating his life, which was amazing for me to see.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for asking me that.
All right. Let's give you another question.
Oh, God. I can't think of anybody. I was like, please don't ask me that. These are hard.
Benji, what talent would you most like to have?
Music? Being more musical?
Me too.
Well, you can sing.
Yeah, I'd like to play a piano or something like that.
Guy, what about you? You're multi-talented. Well, you're both multi-talented.
Him more than me.
Well, you have so many different talents. Come on, but what one that you don't have that you'd love to have?
I would love to learn how to play an instrument. Yeah, maybe the
Music.
guitar. Yeah.
It's amazing how often music comes up. Again, it shows, you know, I keep saying this, the arts are important. They're vital to
They're overrated.
No, it's really just another tool for you to expand all your other skills and like use it. It's something I love to learn.
I agree.
Benji, next question.
Yes.
What is your most treasured possession?
Besides Guy?
Oh, this bromance is just...
Most treasured possession. Good Lord.
Most treasured possession.
She's stuck there, haven't we?
I'm having such trouble with these questions.
It doesn't have to be a thing. It doesn't have to be, you know, American passport.
But that's very Israeli. Treasured possession. My photos from my younger days. Before like the whole smartphone thing, I had a camera. I'd walk around university, and my gap year, I have like billions of pictures from the old days. Yeah. Good memories.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask Guy now a different question, just to keep you on your toes. Not, you know, on what occasion do you lie? And Vicky's watching. Don't forget. Okay.
What are you doing to me? Why would you do that?
Because.
On what occasion did I lie?
Do you lie?
Or do I lie? I try not to lie because I think the truth is so much more simple than lying. Like, because I did that because I did that, and sorry. What occasion? Maybe like an entrance to a club or something when I was like 18, and it was like 21 or 24 or 20, and I was like, yeah. I won't say it worked. I never said it worked.
Benji, do you lie?
Usually when I enter the office and they ask me if I've had any coughing or fever. No, I don't really lie.
Okay.
I've been different human beings like 6 months. This is fun.
I'm glad. Are you guys having fun? We're almost there. We're almost at the end, guys.
You guys need to be quieter out in the audience. You guys need to shut up. You're being too loud.
Are you guys enjoying it? Yes.
The nice lady in the green looked like she was taking me seriously. You looked a little scared when I said that.
I love it. I love it. Are you guys having fun out there, guys? Yes. Hi, Elizabeth. So good to see you. So we're going to, hey, Lenny, last question. And I'm so glad you're here. Lenny, you make me laugh every time and smile just by seeing you. So thank you for being with us. Hi, Eitan. Good to see you too. So here's the last question, and each of you is going to answer it. Go for it, Grant. Ask it.
If you were to die and come back as a person or a thing, what would they be?
What do you mean a person? Like a celebrity or something?
If you wanted to, yeah.
If I could have someone else's life, you mean?
Sure.
Come back as a
thing or a person.
Okay, can I answer that first?
Please.
I want to come back as an eagle, man. I want to fly.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of like a, why? Why does flying do that for you?
Because I want to experience things from different altitudes. Because I want to see things I won't be able to see from the ground.
You can fly a plane.
Yeah, but really, it's really like restricted. Like I have the window. Like I can't. That's all I'm saying. Shit. Okay. No, but definitely that. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. An eagle. That's a good one. Benji, have you thought about it?
Yeah, I guess if I just wanted to have a fun life, I guess I'd be Justin Timberlake. But I guess the more serious answer is like Ben Gurion. Just to see, like, I mean, not that I could.
Can they fly? I don't think so, Benji.
That is true.
Why Ben Gurion, though?
I mean, just to witness the birth of the first Jewish state in 2,000 years. Cool. I mean, of course, if I was Ben Gurion, it wouldn't have happened.
And you knew how to do a headstand.
That is true.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A headstand. Headstand, not a handstand.
Head, like he's
there's a headstand and a handstand, so it's a headstand. So we've got a question here from Elizabeth. So here you go. Thank you, Elizabeth. I saw that. She's saying, I feel like I'm the only one watching. You are not. Believe you me, there are plenty more watching. So you're not alone. And there's even a small audience here in the theater because, as we said, we're allowed to have a few people here. So you're not alone. And you're saying, I would like to ask Benji if he knows Rabbi Jason Miller from Detroit.
Yeah, of course.
There you go. How do you know Rabbi Jason Miller? And why would she ask you, Elizabeth?
Well, I want to hear who she is, but I think we first interacted on Facebook through mutual friends. Again, like there's, the whole Jewish community in America is very small. And I met him here many years ago. And what's funny about him is he's a rabbi. He doesn't have a pulpit right now. I think he works, he does a lot of like freelance, bar mitzvah training or officiating ceremonies. And also he works on tech, but he posts pictures of like a million celebrities, like athletes and politicians. And I don't know how he does it, but I always write in the comments, like it's become a thing. Like, how do you do that? And it just, every time he does it, I write in all caps, like, how do you do that? And so
he actually takes a picture with these celebrities?
Yeah, he's posted all these selfies with like all these athletes. I don't know how he does it. Who are you?
I'm from Michigan and I'm friends with Jason. My son met him when he was at University of Michigan. So I've known Jason for years. I've had him come to talk to Hadassah women about making kosher sexy, different things. But it's the same thing. I am amazed with these pictures of celebrities because I always say the same thing. How does he do that?
By the way, Elizabeth, you were from Michigan, right?
Yes, I'm from Michigan.
Right, this is the map of Michigan. So I'm from Tel Aviv.
And I think, I just look at this because I don't understand how this man gets to know so many celebrities.
We'll have to have him on next week.
We will have to have him on. For sure. Any other questions from you guys and from the audience? Anyone want to ask anything? No?
No.
No? You can't?
I was asking you guys before the talk if you could do accents. I can't do them at all.
You can't?
Where are you from? Detroit. What, do you work in cars? Well, my family has accents. The worst thing about working in the auto industry in Detroit is that when you drive, it's a joke I did a year ago, I'm trying to remember it. It's like, you always take your work home with you. That's for you, Elizabeth.
I worked for General Motors.
What's that?
I worked for General Motors when I worked.
Oh, there you go.
It's hard to be in Detroit and not work for the auto industry.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Lenny.
First of all, I enjoyed seeing you guys very much. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The things I didn't know before. But I want to ask both of you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not breaking up or anything, right?
You are not.
Okay, no, yeah, right. Yeah, that's because it's in your mind. Okay. I'm going to ask you both of you the same question that was asked Steven Spielberg. They asked him this question. Let's assume that you believe there is a heaven after you die, and you go there and you enter the pearly gates. What do you expect God to say to you?
Okay, I'm just
That's all you.
That's from the James Lipton show.
That is, and I want to just say to the audience who didn't hear it, thank you, Lenny.
I'll let you handle that one.
He's saying, he asked the question to both of them, if you had to die and go to heaven, and you were at the pearly, and God met you at the pearly gates, what would you like to hear God say to you? Is that right, Lenny?
What do you expect God to say to you?
What do you expect God to say to you? Guy.
When you arrive at the pearly gates.
Don't worry, I'm cool with bacon. Don't worry about it.
Your friends and family are waiting for you.
I like
Have a nice
that.
afterlife.
That's
Very nice.
great. Thank you for that question, Lenny.
Thanks,
Thank
Lenny.
you.
And
Thanks
thank
very
you,
much.
guys. I'm going to say my normal thing that I say at the end of these things. Thank you again once more for being with us. It is our regular Sunday night meeting here with a lot of you. And thank you so much for returning. We miss you so much. And we cannot wait until our doors are open and we can welcome you again in person, which will be soon, hopefully, unless, there's a decision to close again. But please keep on supporting the arts. The arts are important. People kind of tend to say, well, it's not as important. There's other things that we need to think about. And sure, there are other things we need to think about. But I think that the arts are food for the soul. And our souls need a lot of food, especially right now. And we need to, I think, come together, and we need to listen to each other and speak to each other and see each other's truths. I think there's a lot of strange things going on today, and I think that the arts can certainly help us communicate and have a dialogue and speak to each other. And just remember that we need each other. As different as we may be one from the other, we need each other. And I think the arts is a big part of putting that together and bringing us together. So thank you for your support. Thank you for being with us here on Sunday nights. Thank you to Guy. Thank you to Benji. Thank you to the beautiful audience here. And we look forward to seeing you next week again. So take care. Stay safe. Good night all.
Bye.
Good night.